Ride along each week as we share proven strategies to strengthen your business, energize your team, and create the business success you've been dreaming about. And now, here's your host, Rich Allen.
How do you handle team members who do not live up to your performance standards? Welcome to the Ultimate Business Tune-Up Podcast, where our one and only goal is to help you tune up your business so you can have the long-lasting success and fulfillment that comes from owning a solid, profitable, and sustainable business. Each week, we dive deep into a single topic related to improving your business, improving your team engagement, or improving the relationship with your customers. Last week, we talked about setting the delivery standards for your business. We specifically discussed the need to set them high so that you don't end up just like every other business down the street and have to compete on the basis of price alone. Have you done anything as a result? I ask because this is not just an information sharing podcast. My intention is to inspire you to take these ideas, roll them around for a bit, see what would work best for your business, then do something with it. I sincerely hope that you're finding the discussion topics here to be thought-provoking, but more importantly, that they activate your desire to make positive changes in your business. If that's not happening, I'd sure like to hear why not. If it is happening, then it's absolutely worth the time and effort. I sincerely hope it's the latter. Today, I want to ask a question that's related to our discussion last week, but diving a bit deeper into the real workings of your business. My question for you is, how do you handle team members who do not live up to your performance standards? You see, it's pretty easy to set the standards you want and expect for your business. As you may recall, I typically refer to these as your non-negotiables, those actions and behaviors that you consider to be mandatory, not optional, required every day, not just on some days. I know you have them because we've discussed this topic in an earlier podcast episode. And I also know that from time to time, you get frustrated at what's happening or not happening in your business. And most oftentimes that frustration's coming directly from someone on your team not living up to the expectations or standards that you've set for them. Am I right? So my question today is, how do you handle that frustration? What do you do when that occurs? When someone acts out of character in front of a customer, or when someone shows up late and your customer is left questioning your integrity, or when someone doesn't put enough effort in or attention to detail into your product or service and your customer's disappointed with the end product, what's your go-to response? Do you step in and take over? I know several business owners who do this all the time. Do you express your frustration in front of the customer? I've certainly seen that happen before. Do you go to your office and write that person up for screwing up on the job? I've certainly seen a lot of pretty nasty write-ups over the years. Or do you roll your eyes and think, that's Joey being Joey, and forget about it? I'm sure you've seen this happen before, too. You don't need me to tell you that each of these approaches has a positive and a negative outcome. And your job as the business owner is to maximize the positive while minimizing the negative. While stepping into fixing someone's shortfall might save the day for that one customer, it's not likely to solve the problem for the next 10 customers who get service from that team member. And by your actions, you just told that team member that they're not good enough and likely won't be good enough, so don't bother trying. Just let the boss fix it. I could go through each of the scenarios and share the upside and the downside of each, and you would shake your head in agreement. So what should you do? Just thinking about this reminds me of a time when I went to meet a business owner for the first time. He owned an ice cream shop like an old custard stand, where there was only outdoor seating and the customers would come up to a window to place their orders, and his team was inside scurrying around to fill the orders that came in fast and furious. His desk was just behind a wall where the customers couldn't see him, but he could see everything that was being done by his team, and he watched them like a hawk. As I sat down with him to talk about his business, he would keep one eye on his employees, and as we talked, he would interrupt our conversation to bark out to someone working on an order. In a short 10 minutes, I heard his shouting things like, "That's too much. Don't overfill the cup. Why are you doing it that way? I told you to start from the back to the front. Wait, let Johnny do that. He knows how that machine works. Stop wasting the syrup. Sam, what are you doing?" He couldn't help himself from critiquing everything that his employees were doing. Seriously, I could hardly have a conversation with him. And when I asked what his biggest issue was, he said, "I can't find any good workers." As you can imagine, I'm thinking, who would want to work in an environment where your boss is yelling at you every minute of your shift? So I asked him one question. Have you ever thought of catching your people doing things right rather than spending your time catching them doing things wrong? At first, he was puzzled by my question. What did that have to do with finding good workers? But the more we talked about it, the more he understood. Over the next several weeks and months, he focused on those that were doing things right, made it a point to compliment them on their actions and behaviors, and he watched the performance and the enthusiasm of his team change right before his eyes. It's not like he ignored those that were doing things wrong or poorly, but he changed how he talked to them. Rather than barking out orders or giving directions from his desk, he would quietly and calmly get up and go show them what they were doing wrong, or pull them from the front line to sit with them for a minute if he needed to discuss a behavior that he didn't like to see. Essentially, he started praising his team in public, in front of their peers, and correcting his team in private, out of sight from other team members. These two simple changes made a world of difference in the way his team performed. He made a conscious decision to catch them doing things right, and when they didn't, he made the correction or adjustment in private. How well are you doing these two things in your business? What's your process for catching team members doing things right? This is such an important part of the equation. I want to share a couple of examples with you, because if you're not doing this now, it's a practice I would strongly recommend you adopt into your business right away. When I ran the manufacturing business at Pella, we would regularly catch people doing things right through what we called our Moments of Truth Awards. Any team member could recommend someone for the Moment of Truth Award. They would simply fill out a card with the details of what someone did to fix a problem, how they solved a customer's issue, or how they helped a teammate, or went out of their way to be helpful. Whenever we got a card, we would go to the factory floor, get everyone's attention either at a break or at a shift change, call the team member up, read the card to the entire team, and give them a Moment of Truth token. It was a public display of appreciation for the kinds of behaviors we wanted to encourage and promote across the team. When a new person would see someone getting the award in front of their peers, they wanted that experience too. So they worked hard to become helpful and be a problem solver just like their fellow teammates. When I recommended this idea to an engineering client of mine, they decided to select a small team of employees to be their Moments of Truth committee. This small team collected all the positive inputs, made decisions on which ones to recognize, went out and bought small flags like pennants at a baseball stadium, and gave them out regularly at all hands meetings. Before long, their office was filled with pennants flying over everyone's cubicles. The best part was their team went out of their way to be helpful, solve difficult problems, and handle challenging customer situations. And the owners didn't have to do a thing. Just let the team recognize themselves for the good work and positive behaviors that made it a great place to work. As you can tell, I'm a big fan of having a catch people doing right program in your business. But there are times when someone doesn't live up to your standards or doesn't display the behaviors you want and need in your business. How should you handle that situation? Well, I believe there's a simple approach to handle this as well. And I think there are a few principles that you should follow no matter what you do to address poor performance in your business. Number one, address the issue as soon as possible when an incident happens. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't delay. Time only makes the issue more difficult to address and makes the fix or correction less effective. If someone shows up late, address it when they arrive. Don't wait to run it by HR, talk about it with another supervisor. If it's something that's known to be a non-negotiable, deal with it on the spot if possible. Number two, address the issue in private. Don't confront a team member in front of their peers. Ask them to come to your office or go outside the building if necessary. Get to a place where your conversation and your body language cannot be seen or interpreted by someone else in the business. This is a matter of respect. Even though the team member has failed in some way, you must respect them so they can save face with their peers. If you fail to do this, you will not only lose their trust, you'll undermine the confidence of everyone on your team. Number three, address the issue head on. Don't mince words, but don't attack the person, attack the behavior. I find it much easier to do this well if the non-negotiable behaviors have been written out and shared or posted where everybody can see them on a regular basis. I coached one business owner and his leaders to walk the person to the poster on the wall and point at the non-negotiable behavior that had been violated and use the words, "What about this expectation do you not understand?" By pointing at the specific desired behavior on the poster rather than pointing at the person, the emotion would be one of education and understanding rather than blame and humiliation. And lastly, number four, give a clear what will happen next if this happens again. Again, it's important to hit this one head on. Don't mince words. If you allow a bad behavior to occur time and time again, it will never stop. There must be a consequence, and you must be crystal clear on what that consequence will be. That's why we call these non-negotiables. There's no negotiation. There are no situations where it's acceptable. There are no individuals that are exceptions to the rule. If any of these are the case, if it is negotiable, if there are situations where it's allowed, or if there are individuals who don't need to comply, then take it off the behavior list that you want. There's nothing worse than setting an expectation, then looking the other way. It's just bad for business, and I'm confident you'll agree with me on this. So let me repeat the question. How do you handle team members who do not live up to your performance standards? Hopefully, some of the thoughts or ideas we've shared here today will help you answer this question with more clarity and certainty. That's the goal. And once your answer is nailed down, be sure to include it in your onboarding orientation process. Everyone that joins your team should be 100% certain and clear on how you're going to deal with non-conformance. The sooner you address this in someone's employment with your business, the better your team will function and the more enjoyment you will have as a business owner. As always, if you have specific questions or would like to bounce around some thoughts on this topic, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask. I'd welcome the opportunity to help you create a clear process for handling non-conforming behaviors in your business. And thanks for sharing this podcast episode with your fellow business owners. This is a challenge for every business owner who has a team and wants their business to stand above their competition. You can help them by sharing this. Thanks for joining me today. Be sure to tune in next week when we're going to discuss asking customers for referrals. You won't want to miss it. Meanwhile, if you have a question, suggestion, or would simply like to connect, shoot me an email at rich@tourtoprofit.com. Now go make it a great week, and whatever you do, ride hard.
Thank you for listening to the Ultimate Business Tune-Up. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. In the meantime, find more resources at tourtoprofit.com and connect with Rich by sending a message to rich@tourtoprofit.com. Until next time, ride hard.